Listener, if you're concerned about all this stuff we're talking about, should I be using Cursor? Should I be using, Copilot with whatever? My position, I don't care what you use. Doesn't matter. Use whatever you're comfortable with. I do recommend you start using AI in your code editor in some form. Like get an editor that has it, whether it's Copilot or Cursor or something, because AI will really help your coding experience. But beyond that, who cares what you use? That's my take on it.
I'm with Mike on this, and it's not just about code editors. It's about all the hardware. Windows versus Mac. Who cares? As long as it works for you and gets the job done, and you can deliver to your clients, that's all that matters. If you want to use Notepad++ or hell, just WordPad, and it works
Notepad,
for you, that's kudos to you.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so even just now earlier when you were talking about all of the different AI platforms that GitHub Copilot now uses, it's like, I don't know the difference between them. I'm not going to research which one is better, and I'm just going to use whatever one comes default until one of my colleagues tells me, to change a setting that a different one's better. And I feel like this is happening not just with code and not just with text editors, but also with, like, there are so many AI platforms for enter a prompt and it'll create a 30-second video, enter a prompt and it'll create an image. And it's just, there's so much happening right now by so many different companies that some of them, in the long run, some of them are going to be successful and some of them are going to fail and go away. And so in the meantime, exactly like what Mike said, listener, get in, start playing with it, learn how to become comfortable with it. It's a tool like anything else. Use it as a resource. You still need to know how to work it and what to do with that information once you've got it. But get comfortable with it now. It's not going anywhere. And eventually, like right now we're in the wild, wild west. Eventually there is going to be a smaller handful that are the standards.
Yeah. And I want to go back to the AI a bit. Earlier this month, I think it was this month, in Slack, Mike mentioned that he uploaded a screenshot or a design to AI in Cursor, and Cursor spit out the code for a working website. I was like, that's amazing. So I was in Copilot yesterday, and I had a brand new design that I need to do for a new section of a website, and I couldn't upload anything, and I switched the browser and the engine. I said, hey, can I upload it? How do I upload an image to have you do this? And he said, I can't currently do that. And I was like, okay, all right, you can't do that in the browser, but I could have gone to the Claude.ai website and done that, because you can upload an image there. I have a different story about that. But instead, all I did was like, hey, listen, I described the layout. And then I said, I also want this section to use a swiper slider. And I want the buttons, the controls on the bottom right corner, and an image on the left with a testimonial on the right. How do I do that? And it spit out mostly working code. And I think in the future, for me, I would instead just say, hey, give me the swiper starter code. And it'll grab it from the docs, spit it out there. I don't have to switch to Google, search for Swiper, search their docs, copy and paste. Instead, AI just spit out the code sample from the docs. And so that's a good way to do it. You don't need the whole image to website thing. Yeah. Besides that, I'm still not fully trusting of the quality of the code that it may spit out as well.
Well, no, like I said, it's a resource.
Still early days.
Use it like any other resource. You still need to review the content it gives you. You still need to look at the image that it generates for you to make sure that people have all of their fingers. You still need to, like, it is early days, and we still need to monitor the output that it gives us, and we still need to know what to do with it.
Absolutely.
Well, I think, Sean, you made a good point earlier when you said, your job is to bring in business, not to necessarily experiment with a million different tools. And so just use whatever is working and that kind of thing. I fully agree with that. And I think the key to using AI in this Wild West, it's moving so fast, is try to be mindful of how it can save you time in your job. So like if you've got business to do, bring in business or build sites or whatever, have a think about what can AI do for me that's going to make this simpler, whether it's build a slider element or anything else, like even just brainstorming. There's a million things it can do for you. So don't avoid that stuff, I would say.
Yeah. Slightly off topic, but still on Claude AI. Listeners may know that I am an avid amateur photographer. So I uploaded 4 of my images to Claude, and then I asked it, please tell me something about the photographer and the style of images that
Very
I
nice.
uploaded. Because I saw somebody else said, hey, I did something similar. And it spit out about 600 or 700 words discussing the stuff. Now, it was all very generic and whatever, but it was an interesting experiment. So you can try different things like that. And over the coming months and years, AI is definitely going to improve, but the key is it's not a human. So you're not going to get an emotional response, which is what you would want from something like photography or art related.
Well, but even some like generic description like that, you could go through and edit it and pare it down to come up with like a half decent bio. Everybody hates writing bios about themselves, but this is again another example of AI coming up with content.
Oh, I recently spoke at the .1 craft conference here in Toronto, and I needed to have a description of my top, and I workshopped it with AI to get the 1 paragraph description, so that I was
That's
really
great.
happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wrote my initial thing, and then I said, went through 2 or 3 rounds with AI. Please fix this or make it more formal, less formal. How do I, improve it? And yeah, that was a good way, and I'm glad Amanda brought that up to remind me about that.
Speaking of the craft conference that we all attended there, .1 here in Toronto, there was a talk there by someone who works with Mostly Serious, which is a web dev company. And he gave a talk about AI and how they use it. And one of the cool things that they said they do is I forget all the tools they were recommending we use, but one of them, they dumped in all of their documentation about their company, basically. And then whenever they get word of an RFP that they might respond to, they put it in there and they ask AI to spit out a percentage value for how, appropriate it would be for them to respond to that RFP. How likely is it they might win it? And it might say, oh, you're 61%. And they might go, oh, we're not going to go after that one. But if it's like 80% or more in terms of the amount of services they offer relative to what they're asking for, then they go after it. And that's a great use of AI, I think, right there.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. That is going to save you tons of time, because now you don't have to, you're not going to have to spend as much time reading the RFP and thinking about your company and analyzing, like, is it worth it? And you might put time into writing an RFP for a client that is not as worth it.
Yep.
And as we all know, writing those kind of things is just like soul-suckingly
Awful.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yes.
It's hard work. It's the hardest thing about being a self-employed person.